Good morning, everybody. How you doing this morning on March 19th, Thursday, March 19th? We are one day away from spring, and it can't come soon enough. This has been a rough winter. I say it once, I say it 100 times, and everybody usually chuckles at me. But we live in the Northeast. We love four seasons. We just don't like them in one day. And over this past week, we've gone from like 70 degrees to 20 degrees. We've had some sleet, and it looks like we might actually have a nice weekend. I will be cleaning up my yard, which is a mess. The number of tree branches and bare grass spots to be fixed this weekend. And I am Phil Brilliant. This is Simply Brilliant. Thanks for joining me. And I want to stick on one topic and probably going to beat this to death over the next couple weeks because it ain't over yet. This is affordable housing in Toms River and the plan. And I want to make one point today. And it's interesting. I watched a video yesterday from an individual who I guess has been around a while. He's done other videos. He disappeared. He came back. Don't know anything about him. But, and I'm not saying he's supporting the mayor, but he's basically calling out and basically saying that, everybody built up against the mayor because they were upset with the election or upset with Mayor Hill not getting reelected or upset that the past administration got taken out by Daniel Rodrick. I want to make it clear right now. This has nothing to do with former Mayor Mo Hill. This has nothing to do with the past administration. Though I am friends with former Mayor Hill, I think he's a respectable, decent, good man. I do not think of that of Dan Roderick. And I have not thought of that since the first day I met him back 2016, 2017. He has showed his colors from day one. And if anything, he has held true to who he is. And he's a scoundrel. And I want to show you one more time. And this is what the problem is with Dan Roderick. And you can all argue if you want to. You can agree with me if you want to. But these are facts. And you can't get in the way of facts. And the problem is that Daniel Roderick will yell and scream over the loudest person in the room. And he sounds confident about what he says. He doesn't really care what he says. He doesn't care who he insults. He doesn't care where he gets and how he gets to the end, as long as at the end of the day, he's the last person standing and the last person speaking. Okay. And so my point for bringing this up is this affordable housing plan in Toms River. And I'm sorry, I'm bringing it up again. It's not over yet. Okay. And I'm going to tell you why. So I'm going to take you back to the March 11th Toms River Council meeting. 4.5 hours of hell. I sat through it. I still have no idea why I did. But I've actually punished myself to the point where I've watched the video of it. Okay, so I am a glutton for punishment. I'm going to use Asbury Park Press articles because I think Gene Mickle did a good job on this from the Asbury Park Press. But I'm looking for facts. So we know on March 11th, we left that meeting at 11 o'clock at night, not knowing if the two vital ordinances to pass the affordable housing plan for Toms River had been approved, because they only had 3 affirmative votes. And we had an attorney, Christopher Zingaro, okay, who is the outside counsel paid by Toms River. His firm has received over $280,000 in 2025. He couldn't determine, Zingaro, excuse me, if 3 votes, which was the most votes for yes, but not 4 votes, which is a majority required, was enough to pass the ordinance. And Toms River Municipal Mayor Jonathan Penny, Mr. Geico, that's where he came from, he couldn't determine if that passed either. So they had to go they couldn't give us an answer that night. It was going to be determined at a later date. And it says the votes left Assistant Township Attorney Jonathan Penny unsure about whether the zoning ordinance had passed. Penny said he would have to reach research to determine if it passed or not. Okay. I want you to remember that. We'll get back to that. And by the way, just to let you know, the votes that night was Aber, Coleman, and O'Toole voted yes. Bradley and Sikosi voted no, and Bianchini and Nivison abstained. So that's a 3-2-2. Got it. And a lot of it had to do with the properties next to Lake Ridge, both sides of the Lake Ridge entrance on Massachusetts, just off of 70, are going to be developed at an 80-20 clip, 80% market, 20% affordable for about 670 units or 700 units. To get the number there, I think it was 134 in that neighborhood. And then development of acres on Route 9 for 110 units to replace Hope's Crossing that's out of the deal. And that night, Daniel Rodrick yelled and screamed that at stake, if it's not approved by March 15th, Rodrick said the township faces the possibility of builders' remedy lawsuits if a court-approved plan is not in place. Councilman Nivison said that he had asked for weeks for an extension of time from the court to allow the township to look at alternate housing. Zingaro, with his 7 years of experience, that he's made clear he has 7 years of experience, said such an extension was unlikely to be granted. So we're listening to all this, right? I want you to key on that. The three key things I want you to key on. Didn't know if ordinances passed or failed. We had to wait for research by counselors, attorneys. Rodrick yelled and screamed that builder's remedy is going to be implemented. The attorney said extension is unlikely. March 11th, this is a March 12th article. And then the way things work with Daniel Rodrick is we saw letter after letter, and I have my letter right here. Just trust me, this is an envelope. Can't see it. Okay. There we go. Oh, here we go. Okay, good. How's that? Okay, got it. I'm going to pull it out of the envelope. This is township. It's funny, too. He never dates his letters. This is a letter that went to all of Toms River. By the way, we've done research. It costs about $33,000. It produced the cell phone numbers of our councilmen. We've talked about this already. And said, please call or email Bianchini, Nivison, Sikosi, and Bradley. Please tell them not to do this to our town. And what's to do this? This is what Rodrick says. Toms River's in big trouble, and I need your help. Right now, Councilman Bianchini, Nivison, Sikosi, and Bradley are about to force our town into a disastrous situation, one that could see more than 8,000 new apartments built across our community. And basically, it talks about 20% affordable, 80% marketplace. So if you need 1,700 units, now remember, we only need 671, but now it's 1,700. It could result in 8,000 new apartments. His administration had created a solution which only required 183 new affordable units. Okay, by the way, 183, you do the math, that's about 700, 800 overall. And this would be set for the next 10 years. And so it says, this is what happens if my plan, Daniel Rodrick, is not passed. Developers will build 8,000 homes. Apartments would not require approval of our planning or zoning boards. Like Lakewood, our population will surge by $40,000 to $50,000. A city of high-rise apartments will be built downtown, and your taxes will skyrocket to cover education, busing, township services. Okay? Bullshit. Bullshit, bullshit. And I'm going to show you why right now. This is not worth the paper it's written on. Let's fast forward. March 18th, Gene Mickle writes an article. Tom's River missed affordable housing deadline. Will judge show mercy? Basically, it says township has asked the court for an extension of time to complete its affordable housing plan based upon the chaotic meeting. Christopher Zangaro, the township attorney, has asked Judge Sean Gertner on March 12th, the day after the council meeting, for additional time because the deadline was the 15th. Mayor Rodrick has now said he's bringing in retired Judge Mark Trancone to talk to the council. Okay. But in this article, okay, the article, it says, let's find it. Assistant Towns River Township Attorney Jonathan Penny said at the conclusion of the meeting that he would research the fate of the ordinances. Penny says he was unsure at the time if it passed or failed. This article tells you that the ordinance failed. So we learned about this through an article. In this article, it says that Tom's River has asked for an extension and did it the day after the meeting. Okay. Remember, Councilman Nivison was asking for it weeks, months, whatever you want to say before. So I want to show you this letter and show you why this is a problem and why Rodrick can't be trusted and why we have a problem here in Tom's River. And it has nothing to do with the fact of the Mo Hill gang. It has nothing to do with the fact of the former administration. It has 100% to do with Daniel Rodrick, the way he doesn't manage, he doesn't govern, and he doesn't have leadership, and how people follow him. And I don't get that. So here is a letter on the letterhead of a respectable law firm in North Jersey. I mean, the number 2 name on the list is Craig Coughlin. Okay, I'm pointing. You can't see what I'm doing, but I'm pointing right here. Craig Coughlin. He is the Speaker of the New Jersey Assembly. Okay, here's our attorney, Christopher Zangaro. He's down here. This is March 12th. It was sent to the judge. This is the office represents the Township of Tom's River in the above referenced matter. On March 6th, the parties in the matter appeared before the court for a case management conference. Did anybody mention this at the council meeting on March 11th? No. Did Daniel Rodrick mention this at the council meeting? No. Did Zingaro or Rodrick mention it on March 10th at the planning board meeting? No. Why is it important? I'm going to tell you why. At that time, the township advised through council that ordinance were adopted on first reading. That was back in February. Okay. And scheduled for a second reading to be completed. That was the meeting on March 11th. You'll see it says right there here. This was the township council approved the settlement agreement on December 10th. Ordinance was first introduced on February 25th. This is when they basically went to executive session and said, here's 2,000 pieces of paper, read it and approve it in 2 seconds. And the council approved it because they were told, approve it and we'll discuss it over the next 2 weeks. And the council did it because they trusted the attorney and they listened to Daniel Rodrick. Here's the problem I have. So the planning board adopted the amended on March 10th. Again, this letter's factual. The case management conference identified the resolution was adopted, mechanism if necessary for preservation. Okay. As memorialized therein, the alternative compliance mechanism for inclusion in the plan would consist of 100% affordable housing, block 171, lot 23 and 42. And this is going to replace Hope's Crossing. This is the property on Route 9, Lakewood Road, that is owned by Tom's River, that is this big to do 100%, 110 units. But Daniel Rodrick zoned all of it, rezoned all of it, MS 16, multifamily 16. And that's one of the biggest problems. Why are we putting more homes on Route 9? Okay. That's what's happening here. But here is March 6th again. That's when this meeting happened. Okay. It's only memorialized on March 12th and basically saying to the court, we have a problem, but we have a solution. At the case management conference, the course identified, I looked this up the other day. Basically, I gotta look it up again. I apologize. I looked it up. Let's look it up again. Um, Google, how do we spell it? Uh, SUA. Let's go back. SUA. There it is right there. What's it mean? It means of one's own accord or voluntarily. Okay. So at the case management conference, the course identified voluntarily that it had been considering the issuance of an order extending immunity beyond the March 15th, 26 deadline. If you take anything away from what I said tonight, what this is saying, actually this morning, on March 6th, Chris Zangaro, the attorney for Toms River, on behalf of Toms River, told the court they're not going to make the March 15th deadline. So he told the court. And then it says it is the undersigned's recollection, and it's signed by Zingaro, that no party, that's none of the objectors in the settlement agreement, indicated its intent to oppose such relief. Why wasn't this mentioned? All that we hear is extension is not possible. They don't give extension. In my 7 years of experience, they don't give extension. I mean, how many times are I going to repeat the same thing over? And I did the math the other day. If the last round was 10 years ago, Chris Zangaro wasn't even practicing law. He was still in diapers. So, in light of the court's stated consideration of the issue, the absence of opposition, and the imminence of the March 15, 2026 deadline, the township respectfully requests the issuance of such an order prior to that date. Now, I have not seen an order yet, so the judge still can deny it because that's his preference. But why wasn't this shared? Now, again, it's not memorialized in his defense until March 12th. It's the day after the meeting. But this meeting happened on March 6th. That's my problem. That's my problem. Take one thing away. This is why we can't believe what comes out of the mouth of Daniel Rodrick. And he takes these professionals into his loop and has them do the same thing. Had this been discussed on March 11th at the council meeting, I would have gained 3 hours of my life back, and we probably wouldn't have been put through the vulgarity of an argument between council and mayor. All publicly found information. I got this off the New Jersey court's website. There's no insider information here. But that doesn't play into the rhetoric of the scare factors of Daniel Rodrick and that crap letter I just threw over my shoulder, the cell phone numbers being put out of councilmen. And if you learn one thing at all, you got to learn that Daniel Rodrick wants to manipulate the rhetoric and wants to control it. And his control is not good for Toms River. They informed everybody on March 6th they would need more time. March 10th, the planning board meeting. The plan was approved by the planning board, even though they could have waited. March 11th, the plans were not approved by council, and they didn't have to vote because they could have had more time. We'll find out if the judge gets it, gives it to them. But moral of the story is this is why we can't trust Daniel Rodrick. I'm Phil Brilliant. This is Simply Brilliant. Have a great weekend. Enjoy the weather if it's good, and I'll see you next week.